Hi everyone, today I have the Beastgrip Pro Rig and I'm going to compare this to a cheap version which is a Ulanzi U-RIG Pro, so you guys know when you want to buy a new smartphone rig, or maybe you're just starting out with smartphone filmmaking wondering what rig to get, whether you just need a cheap version of one or a much more expensive version one with all the bells and whistles. So let's take an in-depth look at the Beastgrip Pro Rig and also how it compares to a cheaper rig. So this is the Beastgrip Pro Rig, really nice little set here, and it's going to take your phonography to the next level. This is the upgrade kit for the 12 Pro Max. This also works for the 13 Pro Max, so that's the lens mount that you attach to the Beastgrip Rig itself by unscrewing the original one and then sliding this one onto it, as well as getting the little menu for it. And then here you've got the grip for the lenses, so if you want to tighten and loosen the lenses, getting them off and on, you can do that without getting your hands all over the lenses. Now this is the mounting plate that will actually allow you to use your Pro Max phones, or multi-camera phones at least, so you can turn that side to side, revealing whichever lens you're going to use, whether it's a telephoto lens, a wide angle lens and such. So it gives you a lot of options and a lot of versatility in what you can use this sort of rig for. Now you get a cold shoe mount included as well in this, so you get one in the center which is on top of the phone grip, and this one you can screw either to the left or the right of your Beastgrip Pro Rig. Quite a nice little addition. It would be nice to have two, but with this one it's still handy to put your microphone on, or lighting if you're in a darker area as well to light up your subject. Now with the Ulanzi U-RIG Pro you get the 3 cold shoe mounts and 2 1/4" threads on top, one on the bottom. So pretty simple stuff from the Ulanzi U-RIG Pro. Now let's talk about these two different smartphone rigs and how exactly they are in practical terms when you're using them for filmmaking. Now with the Ulanzi U-RIG Pro, already we see a bit of an issue with the ND filter clip that I have to use on this. You can't use a moment case or anything like that because the actual grip isn't thick enough to be able to hold the case, but that's the same with most smartphone rigs anyway. Now with the Ulanzi U-RIG Pro, this ND filter does get in the way slightly of the touching, Filmic Pro's controls and all that kind of stuff, but overall it's not too bad. You've got the space for the wire here as well. You don't have the ergonomic grips as such. These are just kind of like rounded grips really. They're not ones that slot into your fingers or anything like that. And it's not built as strong really. It's all plastic. There's no metal in this, apart from maybe the spring, and that's about it. But for £12, I don't think you can ask for too much more. For a beginner's rig, I think the practicality of this is good. Whilst not obviously as good as the Beastgrip Pro Rig, it is a good place to start. Now when it comes to the Beastgrip Rig Pro, I'm really impressed with how this handles, I have to say. In terms of functionality and being practical when you're filmmaking, adding an ND filter is an absolute piece of pie, and it's really easy to do. You just screw these off, screw them back on, easy, and it's done. Now you've got the bayonet mounts you can buy as well that are separate. You can get them from Moondog Labs. I don't know if you can get these from Beastgrip Pro, I imagine you probably can. But very easy to put on your ND filters and lenses. Really practical, and it just saves you time as well when you're filmmaking if you're in a rush, that kind of thing. In terms of handling, it's really solid piece of kit. A lot of it's metal, like the rods, as I said before. You've got these practical kind of handles here with the, I think they're called ergonomic grips as well for your fingers to slot into. You've got a nice gap there as well, if you've got leads coming out for your sound and that kind of thing. Really useful. And also you've got the cold shoe mounts here and here as well, which you can attach separately. Now, when it comes to actually using the Filmic Pro on this, it's really helpful. You might not be able to see as good as some, but basically you can use these controls so much easier with this rig because your hands are right next to the phone, and it's really close, and it feels like the phone's kind of nicely nestled into this rubber clamp as well. The spring is really kind of loaded tightly, so it holds the phone really solid, not going to fall out, and your hands are, like I say, are very close to the phone, so you can do everything you need very easily. Now let's talk about the weight of these smartphone rigs. The reason being is the heavier your smartphone rig is, the easier it is going to be to get smooth pan shots, tilt shots, and even just holding your phone with the rig still. The reason being is the heavier your smartphone rig is, the more it's going to be pulling down with gravity, and the more you're going to have to be lifting against it to keep it still, which creates a smoother motion. Now if we look at the Ulanzi U-RIG Pro, we can see here it's 164 grams, so it basically weighs nothing. It's very much like holding a feather. Even with the phone in it, it's still very light. If we take a look at the Beastgrip Pro Rig, it actually weighs 309 grams. Apologies, Beastgrip Pro Rig put a little bit of weight there. I'm not going to fat shame you, let's move on. So it's going to be much heavier for the phone to be in as well, and the whole setup in theory should create slightly smoother shots a little bit easier. Okay, so to test the stabilization of the Beastgrip Pro Rig versus the Ulanzi U-RIG Pro, I have turned the stabilization off of Filmic Pro so we can get a true sense of how each one of these rigs stabilizes your footage, better or worse than the other, or are they the same? Now let's see how the pans work out with this. So again, this is without stabilization. It's a little bit shaky. It's not too bad, as long as you keep your body nice and safe and relaxed and steady. Well, there's quite a lot of shake towards the end there actually. And if you go for a tilt, Again, there's a few little shakes there. We have taken stabilization off of Filmmaker Pro, so that's natural. It's not too bad, it's a little bit shaky. And just to hold a still shot, if we focus here, you do see some shaking at the edges of the shot. It's nothing major, but it is noticeable. Okay, so this is with the Beastgrip Pro Rig, and it doesn't feel that much different. The weight does feel like it's helping a little bit, but honestly, it doesn't feel like the shot's a huge amount different. And then if we go to a tilt, and then tilt back down, again, this is without stabilization. And we'll go for a still shot. To be honest, this is the area where I thought they'd be most similar, because essentially they are both rigs that you just put the phone in a clamp. So in terms of stabilization, I don't think there's a huge amount of difference. Whilst the Beastgrip Pro Rig is definitely heavier, I wouldn't say that the stabilization is a huge amount different. Now, one of my favorite parts about using this Beastgrip Rig Pro, and it's getting more and more interesting to me the more I use it, is its adaptability. With these screws here in the middle, you can unscrew them and you can slide out the lens mount section of the rig. So that way you've just got the one handle and the phone clamped in with the rubber gloves here. Now there are two reasons why you want to use that is if you want to have a bit more freedom of movement like this, if you want to do some quick moves like that with one arm, maybe you've only got space to get one arm in without this side of the rig, you go into a tight space, very good. And also there's a shot in the Apple's advert for the cinematic mode of the iPhone 13 Pro Max where they're using half of this, so you can see that it does have a use. Now the second reason is if you have an old school clamp-on lens like I do, the Moondog Labs Anamorphic, then you can clamp that on here with no issue whatsoever, and it will be free to use with the ND filters and everything, not getting in the way of the rig. So the versatility of this and the adaptability is really, really special when it comes to the Beastgrip Pro Rig. Now, whilst the Ulanzi U-RIg Pro is good, it does not have anywhere near the versatility that the Beastgrip has. So whilst the comparison is a bit apples and oranges, you can see that the Ulanzi U-RIg Pro is the perfect rig for a beginner in smartphone filmmaking. If you simply want to get your hands off of your phone so you're not getting those micro jitters when you're filming, this is a really, really good way to go. You've got the cold shoe mounts, 3 of them on top, 2 1/4-inch threads, one on the bottom as well for your tripod work. It's a really great low budget option for smartphone filmmaking. But of course, if you want to take your smartphone filmmaking to the next level, to a professional level even more so, then the Beastgrip Pro Rig has literally everything you could possibly need in a rig. You've got the 1/4-inch threads on top, you've got a cold shoe mount here as well as you're moving the clamp up you can use. Particularly if you're using big phones, that's going to put it up quite high for you, which is nice. And also it's future-proof. You can put literally, with the adjustments you can make on the rig, any phone, Android or iPhone, no matter how new or old, into this and it will work. You can get different mounts as well for your lenses, so if this 37mm screw-on isn't what you need, there are different options from that available with Beastgrip Pro, and I believe Moondog Labs make a different mount as well for bayonet mounts. It is pretty much a smartphone professional rig that is built like a tank and is built to last. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys and you know which rig you're going to get now or what's going to be more suitable for your needs and your videography. I will see you on the next one. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like button. Bye bye.